My name's Josh Lindsay, 28 years old and grew up in Geelong. I'm currently an Uber driver and hiring a car from Splend. It's the perfect situation, so whenever I'm here in Australia I can be driving in a pretty much brand new car with the flexibility of being able to hand it back. I've always enjoyed driving road trips. I've sort of always wanted to be the driver when I've gone away. I find it's a good sense of freedom when you're behind the wheel. Just having that connection, I guess, to different people as well. Like it's actually, it sounds a bit strange, but it's actually really good to be able to go and learn. I've learned so much from different customers. I've had CEOs, I've had politicians as customers. It's just such a great experience. So yeah, in a way, I sort of felt like I've sort of found this amazing thing that not enough people know about. Without the ability to have access to a car, it means that I wouldn't be able to use Uber, so Splend's fantastic for that reason.
So, you. So, put your hand up if you've used Uber in the room. Oh, great, that's reassuring. So, for those of you who use Uber, when Uber first came, it was obviously like, oh, these guys are like running illegally in the country. It was a bit dodgy. And so, part of the few requirements of drivers when they got into cars is that for them to be able to drive on the roads, with the cars couldn't be over 8 years of age. So all of a sudden Uber grew, and then it kind of hit a bit of a point where not everyone has cars that are less, it's pretty black and white. If your car's over 8 years of age, no matter how well you use it, you can't have a car. So what happened with Uber early on was a few people who were saying, oh, I can make good money off Uber. I'm going to go to a dealership and then get a good car and get on a 5-6 year car finance deal. And a lot of people jumping into these just because maybe they've been made redundant or not getting enough work and they really need to pay off some bills. So they'll get in this 5-year deal, maybe having to pay $300 a week. Oh, it's easy. I get this great, $30,000 car, but they're locked into that commitment for the next few years. So then our founder, Chris King, was working in an electricity company, and he was buying cars and selling them, and realised actually we can buy cars and then turn them over and actually make money on that if we're buying them at scale. And then he was getting in the car, and Uber's on Saturday nights, Fridays, and then occasionally when he was sober. And then he actually asked the Uber drivers a few questions. And a lot of these mum and dad operators and uni students are using their own cars, and then asking, so you're driving this many kilometres a week, and then people continue coming up, oh, my gearbox is done. And how much is that going to cost you to fix? Oh, it's going to be about $2,000. So taking him to, he's a bean counter, compassionate bean counter. And he started to think, wow, we could actually do this at scale. Looked at a few different business models in America and got, we can do this. So that's kind of how the business started. So it's a flexible vehicle rental. It's a minimum of 4 weeks and a 2-week return policy. So no one's ever going to be in debt. Payments are always paid in advance. And then all of a sudden, Uber was like, oh, thank God you guys are coming in here, because Uber early on, there's a lot of real bad PR for Uber, and rightly so. People were going into car finance deals inappropriately and getting into a huge amount of debt. And Uber, the way the structure is, if someone offers a bad customer service and your star rating is low, they're going to get booted off the system. And that's caused a few issues. So then Uber jumped on with us and partnered with us, and we managed to scale up our business from 0 cars up to 1,200 cars in the first 12 months. So we're not just a car rental business. There's in this space, there's a lot of, these car rental business, there's a lot of money to be made. They look, oh wow, we can get utilisation, people making money and they can pay off their rental fees, this, that and the other. But for us, that wasn't going to fit, that wasn't going to tick the box. We saw the opportunity there. It was about being something different. So when Chris came to me, he was like, been working in the non-for-profit sector for 10 years. I set up a youth organisation when I was at school and ran it all the way through. And then Chris came up to me and said, this is what we're trying to do. And I said, well, I imagine it was perfect timing for me, because I was kind of getting a bit frustrated with some ways around me, my non-for-profit and a lot of community development work. And a lot of the things that the challenges were, a lot of these challenges were systemic. In the communities that I was working in, a lot of them were remote Indigenous communities. And the issue is, we do all these innovations and interventions in the schools to support these young kids, but then they go back to the same household environment where the whole thing, a lot of people are on are unemployed, and then there's no work. So that lack of, when you're unemployed, the lack of self-respect and all these different things. So I really wanted to look into a way around how we could create more work for more people. And Splend was a great option to do that. So I just kind of go through the basics, like what we are. We have a rent and a rent to own. So essentially it's a minimum of 4 weeks, 28 days, then a 2-week return. And then we've got a rent to own, which is another option that people can do. After a 4-year period, they'll end up owning the car. So it's 2 different options, and that creates flexibility. But even on the rent to own, given the weekly rentals, they can still leave with 2 weeks' notice and with no obligation as well. So it's a kind of a similar to like a novated lease kind of situation. These are the 2 different options. So on paper, you see, oh, this is very similar to car rental business. Yada, yada. I'm probably shooting through this a bit quick. But you got the CTP, you got all these different things, and then this is kind of why Splend. So we've got a few different offers around the services and support, the 24-hour vehicle support, and then we support our internal members, because what we found early on, that's a bit loud, that's nice. Early on is that how do we support our members? Because these drivers, they're making money and they're passionate about what they do. And the best way to grow our business was really through referrals. We're getting all our referrals for people who are coming to us, and they were good drivers. They paid their bills on time and they looked after their car. So we created a referral bonus system, and that's been consistently the most effective way of recruiting new drivers and members to our community. So currently we've got offices, depots in every city that runs Uber in the country. We've got over in Australia. We've got over 80 staff, and we've got over 1,800 cars now that are rented week on week, and our community. So the community here, we have monthly events, and part of the innovation that we have is that every month, every single driver is met up for an hour for a one-on-one consulting support service. Going through your finances, and really the intention of our business is around how do you be the most profitable driver on the road? What's your income? What's your expenses? How can we increase your income? What are your personal motivations? Like, why are you renting a car off us? Is it the flexibility? Is it the way around actually you just motivated to just make more money? So that one-on-one coaching and mentoring is really the secret sauce of our business. That is a real point of difference to the Hertz, the Thrifty and Eurocar and all these other players we're playing with. Because at the end of the day, our drivers are the most successful drivers on the road. They're top rated. We can actually see the average star rating for those people who use Uber. It's 4.82. Uber give us this stuff. And what we actually have in all our cars, we have geo trackers. So we've got all these cars throughout Australia, and we can go through the economies of the fuel, the car. Are they braking too much? Are they driving? Do we need this person to do a safe driving test? And all this is the innovation that we do within the business ongoingly, and the support we offer. So we've got over 4,500 people into work over the last 2 and a bit years. So these are people who previously wouldn't be into work, maybe they are in work, but they're unemployed or underemployed. So as an Uber driver, it's additional onto your full-time work. Maybe you want to do it on the weekend, you're saving up for something, we can get you into the car and support you that way. I'll just go through these, what we do, a big partnership, but what we do is actually say a bunch of businesses in the room. If you want your business more out there in the community, our drivers are essentially advertising opportunities for you. So our drivers will additionally earn additional income in the cars. So we've got a bunch of these brands, they'll come and they'll pay X number of vehicles, we'll put products into your car. So recently Sienna, the tuner, such a random partnership that we had. I love Sienna. But what we got, actually, they gave us about 20 tonne of tuna. And so literally we had at all our depots, all these crates of tuna, and then everyone was handing out tuna in the cars. And so we got Cadbury, Schweppes, and all these different companies, and it's crazy. So the drivers really appreciate it. Occasionally they love a bit of tuna in their pantry as well. So there's a lot of partnerships that we do, and it's a real point of difference. So the sharing economy and the future of work. This is something that I drive in the company, is around wow, I realised sitting down with CK, the motivation for me to get into this space is around the future of work, and it's evolving. I know in Newcastle you've had a lot of these discussions because, automation, globalisation, collaboration, these kind of three areas of the future of work and how's it going to influence the way we work. And the beauty of like the sharing economy or the micro businesses or Uber and all these different words, buzzwords that we use is that the benefit of what we do is we're creating micro businesses. So the micro businesses are micro entrepreneurs essentially. So what we do, it's not just being an Uber driver jumping on, it's around how do we partner up with more businesses for people to be able to promote other businesses or even signing up to other platforms. So say in America, it's more of an evolved sharing economy. People have that, they'll literally have like 4 phones. One for all the different platforms. So maybe food delivery one, Uber will be one, Ola will be another one, and what's the other big American one? It just kind of escaped me. I don't know, I'm having a brain lapse. But they'll have like 4 different phones up on their dashboard, so they're on a bunch of different platforms. So micro businesses in the sharing economy. But technology's advanced since I was there since. So you have all the apps on the one phone. So saying up here in Newcastle, a great company called Better Caring. Has anyone heard of Better Caring? So they provide support to aged care and NDIS. So it's like an Uber app that carers can go onto. They need X number of support, domestic services or transportation. So people can log on there and use their NDIS funding for those services and goods. So we're partnering and we've got many of our drivers on the Better Caring platform to service there. So I've got one more video here and then I'll go into a little bit more around what we're doing next.
I'm Simon Johnson, 30 years old. I've got 2 kids and enjoying working with Splend. So for me, natural being a very social guy, I think I enjoy the job. I love driving. Basically, I share stories of the life we've been in Africa, where I'm originally from. Just basically being able to connect with them and being friendly is what every human being wanted. Splend is giving people a chance, a freedom, a chance to be able to drive a car they will not afford. I think it works for me. So I'm living the dream, and I don't have to tell you that I got $1 million in my account, but I'm happy, I can smile. That's the most important, as long as you can smile.
So that's another story, Simon Johnson. So Simon's a bit of a representative of, our migrant community, essentially. Well, we're finding over 63% of our members are recognised as migrants. And of that, those drivers, a lot of there's barriers to entry into the workplace, given the cultural challenges, language challenges, and a bunch of other reasons that are preventing them to getting that first bit of work. So that's kind of a lot of area that I work in, is that we've also, with current membership base, we've got over 34% of our existing members have come off unemployment, full-time unemployment, for average around 2 to 3 years. Because for whatever reason, having kids, some health reasons, now people are able to get into work and it's got the flexible hours to do that. So that's kind of the end of my formal presentation, but I was wanted to talk, how are we going for time? 5 minutes. So I thought I'd just share my story around getting into this and the reason why why I'm so passionate about this and what really drives our business is the purpose behind it. You look at these stats that come out with the current government, they're saying it's $4.8 trillion debt is going to be our welfare. And it's like, well, there's obviously a lot of people need a lot of that support, but then there's a lot of dialogue going out there in the community around the loss of productivity due to unemployment rate and these kind of things. So as a business, we're creating opportunities for people to get into work with low barriers to entry. They're micro businesses as independent contractors on these platforms, and they're able to do it. So how do we, as a business, support more people into work? And we're coming into the lives of people when they, really need that support, and they're not getting locked into a long-term finance deal and not just that flexibility. They may be getting into a car, get out of a bit of a rut they're in, and then be able to move on, and that's what we do. So continually every day we go through that process. And for me, it was quite funny coming here today. I used to do talks and for my youth organisation. It was called ICEA, so it was Indigenous Communities Education and Awareness, and it really was aligned when Christina made the acknowledgement to country earlier, because it's all about being aligned and what we're trying to do. And we were chatting over dinner last night. If people, you don't have, and what Angie says about the vision and the values, if people aren't aligned at that level, the filtering process, they're not going to be staying with your business. So for me, what we used to do at the beginning is we used to do a bit of a meditation. At the beginning, I won't do it now, I'm a bit out of practice of meditation, but about connecting to country and connecting to community. So like having a few breaths. I know everyone's probably got their own little morning mantra, and I hope it's not just having a coffee. But like connecting to country, and then how do you do that with your business? So like, what are these mantras that you can do in your business that could align you or on a consistent, ongoing basis to your values? What's your driving force, and how can we be the best supporters of our community? So so that's kind of the guiding force of what we do, and I'm pretty passionate around what we do. So if you have any ideas around it, I'm going to be here for a fair bit later. If you got any, we've got about 25 drivers in Newcastle. We've got about 650 drivers in the broader Sydney. So there's a lot of cars there that we support and do that. But I think I might wrap it up there. Yeah.
How do you train the guys that are actually mentoring these drivers? Is there a process or a certain way you approach it?
Yeah, great. So the process for training, we call them MSRs, so Member Success Representatives. The reason it's not like Customer Relationships Manager. I think you'll find, I'm sure it's not new to everyone, but it's like, how do we add value to that role? Because it's such a crucial role. It's the reason why we exist. So the training, we do a week intensive training in Sydney with all our staff from all over the country, and they come together and they get aligned with the business, the values, and going like that. And then we've got quite a streamlined process with our CRMs and data processes where we can track and monitor how regularly everyone's meeting up with, how long are they meeting up with, how long are they calling, who's calling, how regular are they calling the customers, and things like that. Because you can do it now with technology. It's so easy to connect your phone and see how often you're calling through the CRM to your customers, and just be able to track and monitor that. So then, it's part of quality assurance. We know that one MSR, the goal is that the MSR will have one MSR to 70 drivers is what we aim for. But in some areas, it may be lower than 50 if some people need more support. So the training is pretty consistent. It's intensive training. We have like a training development officer in the business, and so they facilitate all that training, and then they'll meet with different people in the business, understand the different roles and things like that. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, we'll do questions after. Perfect. Well, thank you. Cheers.